But if you like freak out last minute and pop off this ramp, you'd take your head off. From the two cabs opening up and revealing lights, like revealing my window to jump through, to the back slamming shut again was 0.8 seconds. I remember telling some mates, they're like, no, don't do that one. Like, why? Any imperfection in its curtains.
We're here ultimately because you've just released another nuts video. This time you decided to jump through two moving trucks, which I'm still not convinced is a great idea, but you survived. Where does an idea like that come from? Give us some kind of background on how you come up with this stuff, or whether people come to you.
Yeah, it's a good question. I don't have a straight answer. It was 100% my idea because I drew it and sent it to Hugh, who was my athlete manager at the time, a year ago. But I'm obsessed with, like, I'm quite into how things line up, and I don't want to like trip myself up and sound like a complete weirdo, but like, do you know when you're driving down the road and like you see like lampposts lining up with things, and I like engage with that. And I remember seeing trucks pass through, and I at the time I thought, you could ride a motorbike through that. I saw a curtain sider open, and then there was another low loader with like a digger on it, and I thought, there's a split second in time where like light came through there, and imagine going through on a motorbike. I don't know why I thought motorbike, but then I was trying to come up with ideas for Red Bull projects and just pitched that, and I drew it on like up a grass bank onto a main road, two lorries passing through, me jumping through it. And Red Bull said to me, like, you know what, firstly, we've spoken to some of the people in the office, everyone loves it, they think it's so engaging. Most of them said it's probably not possible, but if you think you can do it, 100%. And not only that, but they had a partner in mind, which was Scania, who make now autonomous trucks, autonomous lorries that are driverless, which, I mean, we should probably get to that, but it made the project work because those two trucks needed to cross each other at exactly the right time for me to pass through them, getting towed in by a car. It's quite a lot of moving parts. Yeah,
it's nuts, eh? So what are the steps then? So you've drawn this, you've sketched it, you've sent it to your athlete manager, and they've said, yeah, we're in, let's go. Like, how do you get from there to the day where you're suddenly on site with these trucks?
That was so yes, between like an idea to reality was a year.
Okay.
Because we relied on Scania, so we went and met them in Sweden. Then we went back to like look for a location. They have a training place, well, not a training place, like a test area near a runway where they've already got this GPS grid all set up so that their autonomous trucks can be used there. But it was where we ended up doing it was actually a public road. Like, we had to keep moving the ramps out of the way for the postman to come, and a farmer wanted to dump like a massive truck of like actual human poo, essentially. And when like the guy, one of the safety people was like on the radio, yeah, he wants to dump it, and he says where he usually dumps his shit is by the wooden ramp. So we're like having to battle all that. But yeah, it was strange that a crossroad in Sweden became my home for a week, trying to bring this project to life and with success, you know?
Yeah. What was it like when you were first on site and you saw all the moving parts together, like these two trucks gliding past each other, these ramps in place, you run up, your towing car? How did you feel?
The most daunting, the most like sobering moment was the first time I watched the two trucks pass and I'm just stood on the side of the road. Like, I've hung around moving traffic, but I don't really spend much time around in the back of lorries and things. And they're gnarly. It's dangerous. All the wheels and like they're loud. And I just thought this is very different to when I drew it. You know, you can't mess this up. And then we had to figure out so many details. How fast am I going to get towed in? What angle's the ramp going to be? Will I hit my head on the top of the truck? It's one thing, the timing getting through, but if you like freak out last minute and pop off this ramp, you'd take your head off. Lots of variables, but I'm quite good at that, like working through it step by step and building a functioning plan. But this one relied on so many other people and so many other moving parts. Yeah,
we'll talk about that a bit because I find that pretty interesting. But I want to talk about the towing car because I know you like your cars.
Yeah,
it feels like that wasn't an accident. That's a pretty smart towing vehicle.
Yeah, an Audi RS Q8, big old 600 horsepower family SUV. We needed good brakes.
Okay.
I go through both trucks. That was the plan, but the car can't. The car towing me in is driving at a crossroads, moving traffic, and I need to let go of the handle as late as possible to not then decelerate and face variable factors like wind and rolling up the ramp. So the later I can release the handle, the more consistent I am. But that requires the car to slam on the brakes as late as possible. So the driver, James, had a pretty gnarly job. You know, he's also driving a car at these trucks, but he has to stamp, like left foot brake and stamp. And even when I whiz past the car, freewheeling, like you hear it like skidding up to the traffic, and it made the whole thing more epic. But that was the only way. Yeah, it's a cool car.
What speed were you getting towed in at?
43 mile an hour.
Okay,
69. Yeah, 69 kilometers an hour.
Yeah. What speed are the trucks doing?
20 each.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So combined overlap of 40 mile an hour for the trucks as well.
Which is has quite a scissoring effect.
Your margin of error here, right, for either getting taken out by the front of one truck or the back of the other is tiny. Was it 0.8 of a second?
Yeah,
or something?
that's what I worked out, and it was about right. Was from the two cabs opening up and revealing lights, like revealing my window to jump through, to the back slamming shut again was 0.8 seconds. But when I'm starting a quarter of a mile away and I have to arrive within that 0.8, that's tough. Yeah, and it's hard to be like revved up for that long.
This is where the technology comes in, right?
Yeah.
So the trucks, like you say, are autonomous. They're driving themselves. There's no one in the cab of these things. And I think you've got a GPS grid, like you said, on the site anyway for Scania's work. And then you've got GPS in both the trucks and the towing car. So you came up with like an ingenious system of like a stop-go light on the back of the car, right? That's
it. So the trucks needed to be autonomous. The project lived and died with the trucks crossing over at exactly the right time. Because I can't track two things at once. Like you can kind of cross the road. You can ride a bike at a road and follow a car with your eyes right and think, I'm going to skim the back of that car if it's travelling at constant speed. But you can't follow two things. And when I arrived, I realised that there are too many factors. So James had to manually drive the car and tow me in, and you just can't. And I had little pegs in the ground, and I started off thinking like the front of that truck needs to line up with my peg, and that front of that one needs to line up with that peg when I'm here, trying to like split my eyes. And if it does that, and then the engineers that are doing all the programming for the autonomy, they wrote a program which tracks the two trucks and at what point they're going to arrive at the ramp, and the car towing me had a GPS unit in it. So on the back of the car towing me, there was a light. It was red if it wasn't a perfect system, i.e. I'm way off, I'm not going to get there at the right moment. But if I was within 0.1 seconds of what I deemed to be the right point of the trailer, it was green. But once it turns green, it won't change. So I was then you got 1 second to like let go of the handle, hold on. Things could change, but it took so long to get a green light and to get everything to marry up that once I saw green, I was like, I have to jump through it, man. Might not get this chance again.
It's a bit different to what you normally do, though, right? So normally you're putting faith in your own ability to execute something, and you control you know you pretty well, right?
Yeah.
This time you're putting your faith in some engineers and some satellites and everything to just like turn into a green light on a truck. And was that hard?
It was a weird mountain bike project.
Yeah.
Because I've been that scared before, like with that River Gap hard line. At Darkfest, I jumped that 110-foot jump, which is like the biggest jump in the world. The risk's huge, but all of that stuff, you do it on your own terms. When I'm ready, I'm going to go, and this is the one. The conditions are perfect. It's now or never. But with this project, I had to have that same full 100% like mental fortitude, I suppose. Like I'm putting your life on the line, but had to do it over and over and over and over again, just staring at a red or green light. So it was really hard to maintain that level of like calm but also confidence for hours and hours on end without me knowing when it's going to be go time. It almost made me feel quite like cold to the whole thing.
Interesting.
Later on in the day, I'd like been so focused that almost like wore that part of my brain out, and I just ended up numb to it. Yeah. Nuts,
isn't it?
Yeah.
You had family there as well. Does that help you, or is that it also kind of reminds you of what you have to lose, I guess?
Yeah, gnarly question. My wife was there, my brother was there. So like I said, it was a year planning this whole thing. And I obviously like let loved ones know I've got this project coming up in Sweden. We're flying out there for a test next week. And it's like, oh, what is it? It's like, oh, it's basic really. There's just 2 lorries and I'm going to jump kind of like through them as they cross each other. It's like, wait, go back. What do you mean through them? It's like, no, don't worry. Like, it's going to be really easy. Anyone could do it. I'm just lucky. I was always downplaying it because most people would say, like, don't do that. Like, of all the things, I remember telling some mates, they're like, no, don't do that one. Like, why? But I believed in it. I believed in the maths and the timing, and that really it was like the easiest, scariest thing I've ever done. Like, anyone could do it. You just hold a handle, sat down on a bike, and if the light's green, you put your hand on the handlebars and go in a straight line. But if you if you were like to freak out or turn left or turn right or brake, like none of those work. All of them mean you get run over. Or if you pop too much because you freak out, you'll hit your head. So you have to be like robotic yourself with it. So I found that pretty interesting, like to try and stay in that state where it's like just do what it says.
Yeah, you're quite savvy on the kind of maths and engineering front. You were going to study mechanical engineering at university, right? Do you think that helped you rationalise? Because like you say, you're trusting these other people that have written a code, and like, do you think that fact that you can appreciate and understand the engineering helped you trust it?
Yeah, if I'm honest, I'd have never done it if I wasn't 100% amongst it with the maths and the timing, because the engineers doing the autonomy have never done that before. They're programming lorries eventually to deliver things around the world with all without drivers, but I wasn't sure that they had the same mission as me when I arrived. They didn't quite get what I was doing. They were up for making trucks cross, but they were always focused on the cabs crossing, but I needed the cabs to cross first and jump through and there was loads of like stuff that's lost in translation. It's like, wow, we've done all this planning and we're on different like wavelengths here. So I spent a lot of time like sat down with them, and it's like, right, what happens if this, what happens if that, what happens if this, and I still wasn't sold. And then I spun it, and like their engineers, right, they just love maths and tasks, and I just said to them like, right, I challenge you to make the car arrive at the point that I cross 6 meters into the trailer. And when I switched it to a direct command, like not command, wrong word, but like a challenge, they're suddenly like, yeah, we can do that. Whereas like when it was all hypothetical and it was like, what happens if, and do you think, I never got like solid answers. When it's like, guys, try and do this, they're like, yeah, perfect, we love that. It's like quite binary in a way.
Yeah, totally.
That's probably how I think as well.
Fair. And so you've got it dialed in, you're happy with things. You did like a test jump with a gap.
Yeah.
You did a test through a single trailer. How did it feel going through that trailer the first time just on its own? Single
felt mad because it was, again, like riding it, moving traffic. You got something close to your head, your wheels are really close to the bottom, and you got something, well, when you go up the ramp there's a metal cab in the way. There's a 8-ton truck at the top of the ramp, and then as you ride up the ramp it moves out your way. Never had that before. But one truck was 1.6 seconds, which is ample time, but 2 trucks is half, you know, and the window's literally half the size. So once we did one, everyone was super confident then. It's like, right, this is on. Yeah. And you had a lot of run-ups, right, with red light, red light, red light. You were losing the light of the day, and you ended up having to kind of cool it and come back the following day to do it. Yeah. That's a horrific situation to be in. Like, how did you sleep that night, and how do you get geared back up again to put yourself at risk again? Yeah, we almost had it. We were actually within 200ths of a second of a green on the last run, but we didn't know that. I don't know how red is a red and how green is a green. So went away feeling pretty devastated that it could have got done. And we had a bar booked in Stockholm that night. Like, we thought we were all going to be partying and like patting each other on the back. But then, yeah, back to the hotel, rubbish night's sleep, thinking what happens in the morning? Are the conditions going to be different? If it's windy, does all the maths still work, you know? But then we got it done quite quick the next day, and then just got drunk at the airport instead of a bar, yeah. Can you sleep on nights like that, though? Are you able to just put that out of your head? And I've always been a bad sleeper. I'm like quite a knackered guy. So, yeah, I'm up in the night thinking about stuff. The more time went on, the more I felt I had to like tweak things. So even in the night, I was thinking, like, I was watching back a POV of me jumping through one truck and thinking, actually, that's not going to work. The back's going to clip me. I need to tell the engineers I need to arrive 0.1 second earlier. We need to rewrite the code. But then will I then have to do one truck? So I'm like, I ended up second guessing myself. Yeah, I bet. Whereas when you get on a roll and you've got like a clear roadmap, things are easier. There's nothing worse than like a long night of panicking, is there? Definitely not. So how did it feel when you got that green light? Were you just able to lock in and go? Yeah, literally locked in. Yeah. I was scared. I think I definitely screamed when I went through it. And I remember the back of the second trailer like being in my peripheral vision and coming at me. And I almost I think I ended up like kind of tucked my elbow and shoulder in, but it wasn't even that close. But I can't describe the feeling of riding up a ramp where you can't see the landing because there's 2 vehicles. Then they reveal like this tunnel of light and you're like, there's the landing. But then you, from both sides, you see these backs coming and you're like, oh, this is too late to pull out now. But I was locked in. You can feel it closing on you then when you're kind of in 100%, the moment. Yeah. And just the bottom of the trailer's going in different directions under your wheels, real close to your wheels. And I felt like my head's closed. There's all like, you know, I was never closer than a foot from hitting my head or a foot from hitting my wheels, or even probably 2 meters from the sides. But that's a tiny window when things are moving. And, you know, it's like 40. The other gnarly thing was, because the trucks are autonomous, right, they have sensors and cameras. Once they crossed, they were programmed to not stop for another 50 meters, because I could trick a sensor or something and they'd see the car and do something weird. So we didn't want that. We wanted everything to be smooth. But then the safety guy came over and was like, yeah, I've realised that if you get stuck under a lorry, it's going to carry on for 50 meters and I don't have any equipment to cut you out. So then they got a Norwegian like fire safety team down the next day, who thankfully just sat in fold out chairs and didn't have to do any work. But yeah, I think it's sometimes easier to not know all those details.
I was going to say, having those conversations is probably not what you want to hear, is it?
No. It's a funny old project. Like, I've done some big jumps, I've done some stuff where it's super high risk, but I've always found that most of the projects and jumps I do is like, as long as I'm like within 90% of perfect, I'll be all right. Like, I could probably get away with casing that jump, or if I go deep, I'll be able to take it, I'll be able to land, like pull it. Whereas this one, like, it has to be perfect. Like, any imperfection in its curtains is like, so that's why I was actually stoked that we had a team of clever people and everyone knew, by the end, like, knew the risks and were thinking in the same wavelength. And then you make something happen and it feels easy.
Fair play, mate. Impressive stuff.
Yeah, cheers. I'm stoked on the video, man. It's a hard one to tell that story that went on for so long, and it's like an 8-minute video, but a lot went into it, and I think it's a cool moment that people can relate to.
Yeah, 100%. You can see the build up and what you went through together. So yeah,
cheers.
Good on you, man.